Um, Welcome on behalf of probably the person who's come the least distance to be here today. You may think you're in Manchester, you're not. I want to say welcome to Salford. Salford is the home of Britain's most famous soap opera. It's where Britain's best beer is brewed. And it's just next door to the home of Britain's greatest football team. Salford was also the home of one of Britain's best-loved painters, L.S. Lowry. Lowry was a rent collector for Salford City Council, and he worked on this very street that we're meeting on now. Then at weekends, he went to his home, which is about 20 minutes walk from here, and he painted pictures of the people he'd met during his work. This picture here by L.S. Lowry is simply called Man with Red Eyes. Must have taken a long time to think of the title, I guess. We don't know for sure who it is, actually. Interestingly, though, when art experts x-rayed this picture, they found underneath the paint that you can see, there's another picture of a woman. And underneath that, there's another picture that looks a bit like Lowry himself. He's painted this face over and over, layer after layer. You can see that he's trying to tell us something about himself. He's created an avatar of himself, and then he's hiding behind it. In the last few years, we've entered into a whole new phase where digital technology has made everybody an artist. Facebook has made everybody an author. YouTube has made everybody a TV producer. Twitter has made everybody a journalist. We're all publishers now because digital platforms like these allow us to project ourselves into the world, to say something about ourselves to potentially 1.8 billion people who have broadband access today. And young people spend a lot of time projecting images of themselves. We all do. But here's what's important. Digital culture makes it increasingly possible to project a different person in different contexts. I should know about this. Here's my self-portrait in my online church. You'll notice he has a fine head of hair. You should see my character in Second Life. He's 6'2" and muscle-bound. The digital world exaggerates the possibility of taking on different personalities in different contexts. In the digital world, it's easier than ever to hide behind your own picture, to create a series of avatars and then live through them. Now, avatar is quite an interesting word. Its origin comes from Hinduism. Literally, it means incarnation. It's a presence, but more than just a projection of myself. It's a projection of myself that I actually occupy and inhabit. In the digital environment, we create multiple avatars, expressions of ourselves that are not just representations, we actually live in them. There are the obvious avatars, like my Facebook profile or my me on the Wii, but we're increasingly creating all sorts of others. My Moodle presence, if you're at college, or my PayPal account, or my new microphone that works because the battery's working. Your Tesco club card, your mobile contract, your Twitter account. All of us and all the young people we're working with are living out relationships through a whole network of disembodied presences with people, or more often with companies and powers and institutions. Like, everybody wants a digital piece of me today. I can't even begin to take ownership of all the relationships that my life is made up of. Half the time I can't even remember the passwords. Now, there's nothing exclusively digital about struggling with the different bits of who I am. In my offline life, I express different aspects of me in different contexts. I use one sort of language with my kids and a slightly different sort of language when I'm talking to the vicar. That's okay, as long as each of those different personas relates directly back to the flesh and blood me who's standing in front of you. Christian holiness means that I don't behave in one way in private and another way in public, or in offline in some ways and then online in different ways. It's fine to express yourself in as many different ways as you want to and in as many different places, as long as they all connect back to the real offline you. But if the digital environment leads us into contradictions and compromises, we're in trouble. If I say to my wife, "I love you, Jane," in an offline kind of a way, she's going to get a bit worried. In the end, there's only one me. It's the 5'5", balding, slightly overweight me that's looking at you now. And if I do things online that I would never do in real life, that's the beginnings of a problem. My experience of my Christian life, which has gone on for 50 years and 14 days now, is that God has gently scraped away the layers of paint and pretense to make the real me more revealed. A person who's healthy, not just physically healthy, but spiritually healthy, is just one layer of paint thick. So how can we help teenagers to navigate the digital environment in a way that leaves them whole? There's a story in Mark's Gospel where Jesus meets a man who's described as demon-possessed. He's living alone in the desert. He's become completely detached from his community. It's the one time in all of the Gospels where Jesus asks someone his name. And the answer he gets is extraordinary. The man says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." This poor guy is suffering from what you might call identity theft. He's like a jigsaw puzzle that's been tipped on the floor and there's no picture to help put him together again. He desperately needs to be restored to singularity. And that's what Jesus does for him. Through meeting Jesus, Mark tells us he regains his right mind. Working with young people in a digital environment is a bit like working with Legion. We've got thousands of people who are desperately lonely in a crowd, and they need us to say and show two things to them really clearly. The first one they need to hear is this. It's so simple, it sounds crazy. We need to say to people, "You are one." And the one that you are is known and loved and named by God. And we need to model that through our own integrity. Let me make a couple of suggestions as to what that might look like in practice. Schools tell young people to treat cyberspace like a dangerous place and to protect themselves from it by carefully hiding their identity. A lot of the rhetoric of the internet has suggested that hiding yourself is a good thing. Who are we kidding? Since when did Christians believe that the way to achieve safety is by hiding ourselves? No, Christians believe that we achieve safety through integrity, through being honest and open and having nothing to hide. Now, I'm not saying chuck out your safeguarding policy. I'm not saying post your mobile phone number on Facebook. But I am saying use your real name for your digital identity wherever you can. How about we make a rule that everybody should sign their digital presence? Identify themselves unmistakably by referring back to their embodied self in all our expressions in the digital environment. Just think how you feel when you get a text and you can't work out for the life of you who it came from. So, for instance, I have to use a screen name in my online church, but I make sure that it can be linked back easily to my given name. I always put my name on the end of every text that I ever send. I refuse ever to respond to a blog or to an email that's written anonymously. Jesus demonstrated in meeting Legion that naming is fundamental to human dignity and to holiness in relationships. And here's the second thing that I think we need to make really central in our work. The you that you are in physical presence really matters. It matters so much that you've come to be in this hall today. Could have done this online, wouldn't have been the same. The body I occupy here is the one thing that connects all those diverse digital expressions of me. Yeah. And that matters. It's not just coincidental that Jesus came to earth as a baby. Thank you so much. It's not just a coincidence that Jesus came to earth in flesh and blood and skin. Doesn't even matter who's the most important person in this room. Give it up for him. Every projection of my... Oh, her, beg your pardon. every projection of me is generated by the one embodied me that's here now, the bloke standing in front of you. And when my physical heart stops beating, all those online personas that I've created will end too. So be present to young people. Remind them of the sacredness of their embodied, named, flesh and blood person. I hear Jesus looking at my Twitter feed, my Facebook profile, my screen names, my usernames, every other digital expression. And I hear him saying to me, Andrew, Andrew, fill in your own name. Andrew, Andrew, I've called you by your name. You are mine. Thank you very much.